Driver's meeting room press conference area by Kurt Busch, driver of the number 2 Operation Homefront Miller Lite Dodge, currently 6th in the standings. And Kurt, why don't we talk a little bit about how things have gone so far out there for you today, and your feelings on being back here at California for the second time this year.
Yeah, it's great to be back on the West Coast. Growing up in Las Vegas, it was always fun to come to Southern California, whether it was for a vacation, but primarily racing. Racing a lot at Orange Show Speedway as a kid, and over at Irwindale Speedway, Mesa Marin up the road in Bakersfield. So Southern California has always been high up on my list. It's just a cool place and great racetrack here. I've had the chance to win a race here in the Truck Series and in the Cup Series. And just as way that everything shook out for us in practice, we had some suspension components we were working on and trying to science out. The racetrack here just gets rougher and rougher each time and presents a tougher challenge every time we come back as far as how we can get our front end compliance to get the grip that it needs out on the racetrack. So good challenge for us, and we'll see how things go.
All right, you have questions for Kurt? Let us know. Raise your hand, please. Give us your name and affiliation before you ask.
Dustin Long, Landmark Newspapers, had a couple questions. First question is, this season we've seen seems like a little bit more number of incidents where guys have gotten retaliations on mile-and-a-half tracks. You've been in the sport a long enough period. It seems like that was the type of stuff we didn't see, the series you didn't see except for Bristol, Richmond, and Martinsville. Have things changed, and why is it that this may be happening more at the bigger tracks, and is that a concern?
I think we've had it all along at the bigger racetracks. It just has more focus on it this year with guys not having to look over their back and have NASCAR make a call. And the decision to say boys have at it, it means everywhere. And, yeah, we would let a couple weeks go by in between retaliation, it seemed like, just so that NASCAR wasn't really on you that hard. Now it's more wide open, and so you don't have to look over your shoulder.
And you talked about, going into Kansas, the trickiness of that track, got out of there. How do you feel like you're positioned for the chase, and what needs to happen, especially the next couple weeks, in terms of positioning for the final 5 races for you?
We've got a decent foundation and points built up. We're in better position than we were last year after 3 races. What we need to have happen, like at Kansas, we were running 8th, 9th, and on the final pit stop, we tried to short pit and had a bad pit stop, ended up losing 4 positions. If we could turn that around and flip it the other way and take an 8th place car and finish 5th with it, that's what's going to put us in position to win this championship. We just can't have those little mistakes keep chewing away at points where we're losing them. We need to start gaining them.
Jim Uttershaw, Observer. Kurt, in 3 of the last 4 races, starting with Richmond, there have been 5 or fewer cautions in the races. So there's been 1 with 3, 1 with 4, 1 with 5. First of all, as a driver, have you noticed that and the number of green flag runs that accompanies that? And second of all, how difficult is it when there are more green flag stops than, say, those under caution for a person when you're trying to adjust on your car to make adjustments to get better, or risk an adjustment in hopes of getting better and then not having a chance to fix it?
Yeah, it's good to get into that green flag rhythm. I think that it helps a team like ours with just knowing the lap that you're going to pit on and getting the guys ready to jump over the wall. I try to communicate with Steve Addington as much as I can at the beginning of the run to let him know how the car's doing, and then an update shortly before we pit. And green flag stops, you can lose a lot of time on green flag stops as well as you can gain it if the driver gets into pit road quickly and smoothly. And that when you're on pit road during a green flag stop, it's rare that cars are around you, so the guys can really blitz off a fast lap time or a pit stop time because they don't have to worry about the other cars running into them. So it's a nice difference when you have green flag sessions. But, in the same subject, here we are talking about retaliation and wrecking each other, and now we're talking about long green flag runs.
Second question was, what does it say about an organization like Penske, which is the only Dodge organization in both Cup and Nationwide, and as a company are able to produce a legitimate championship contender in each of the 2 major series that they're participating in this season?
Well, it's just a true testament to everybody that comes to work at Penske Racing, and that they're doing a great job, and everybody's pushing hard. That's not just in the NASCAR side. We had a legitimate shot at winning the IRL title this year and just came up a bit shy. It seemed to be the lack of experience that Will Power had at some of the ovals, but again, the cars were prepared well. Everybody is upbeat about it. You know, just a month ago, we were sitting there at a team luncheon with all the teams there going, hey, we got a shot at 3 championships. And so we missed out on one. We still have a great shot at the nationwide. I think that's obviously our best shot, but we're right in the mix too. And so it's really neat to see our Dodge program carry the banner. There's a lot of responsibility in that, but we're doing a great job doing it as independents.
Kurt Dunn, Coble with the Florida Times-Union. Martinsville is such a tiny track, but yet it presents a big problem, a big challenge to everybody. Why is that?
Well, it's just the fact that you can let off the brake pedal going into a corner and dump somebody. You're on top of the competition the whole time. There's no room for error. Everybody's tightly spaced. The spacing is so tight that positions can change really quick. And if you have a bad pit stop at a Martinsville-style track, it's very difficult to work your way back up through the pack.
And, you know, they say Martinsville and Talladega are the 2 wild cards. Which one of those tracks generally is more frustrating by the time you leave?
I would say Martinsville is, for me anyhow. Others might choose Talladega in that question, but just with your general past experience and how you feel going to those events is how you're going to answer that question. And I feel like I've just struggled at Martinsville over the years versus Talladega.
Hey, Kurt, Kyle Rickey with MRN Radio. Want to get your thoughts about going back to Charlotte next week. Obviously, you and your team did well there in May. And thoughts about going back there next week and some of the keys to getting around that 1.5-mile oval.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, we got this weekend here first, but when we go to Charlotte, we're back at home, staying in our own beds and trying to get into that groove of how we did in May, which was a very successful May to win the All-Star race in the 600. And I was actually at the Hall of Fame this past week doing a big ticket sales promotion for the 500-mile event there. And what's unique is that there's never been a driver to sweep all the races in one season. There's been 7 guys to win the All-Star and the 600, but none of those 7 ever won the fall race that year. And so there's a little bit of pressure, a little bit of something at stake. And I know my guys are pumped up for it. We're the only one eligible in 2010 to go and do it. And when you can win 3 races in 1 year at the track that everybody calls home, that's definitely bragging rights.
Other questions for Kurt? All right. Kurt, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.